Everybody deals with them. The tiny frustrations you've learned to ignore. A bath you have to stand over and constantly adjust. Food that loses its quality the moment it's packaged. Mosquitoes that find you no matter what you do. Most people assume these are just parts of daily life. But in Japan, they've already been fixed. Not with expensive technology or complicated systems, but with simple, precise ideas that make you wonder why nobody else thought of them first. Today, we're counting down 15 Japanese ideas that fix everyday problems forever. Number 1. Washlet toilet seat. The toilet is one of the most used fixtures in any home and one of the least improved. The basic format of a cold porcelain seat, a roll of paper, and a flush handle has remained essentially unchanged for over a century in most of the world. Japan redesigned it completely. The washlet, developed by Toto in 1980, adds a heated seat that eliminates the shock of cold porcelain, a precision warm water bidet wash with adjustable position and pressure, a warm air dryer, and an automatic deodorizer that activates the moment you sit down. Higher-end models include a self-cleaning nozzle, an auto-open lid triggered by approach, and a nightlight for use without switching on a full bathroom light. Over 80% of Japanese homes have one installed. First-time users almost universally describe the experience as something they can't go back from. It's not a luxury upgrade, it's a complete rethinking of what a toilet is supposed to do, and once you've used one, every other bathroom in the world feels like it's missing something obvious. Number 2. Japanese freeze-dried soup. Hot soup from a packet has a reputation for tasting exactly like a hot packet. The sodium is the dominant flavor, the texture is uniform in a way that real soup never is, and the experience of eating it makes the convenience feel like a compromise rather than a solution. Japan's freeze-dried soup technology works differently. The freeze-drying process removes moisture from a fully prepared, restaurant-quality soup at extremely low temperatures, preserving the cellular structure of every ingredient rather than cooking it down into an indistinguishable base. When hot water is added, the structure reconstitutes completely. The tofu is soft. The vegetables hold their texture. The broth tastes like broth rather than dissolved powder. Japanese brands including Amano Foods produce freeze-dried miso soup, ramen, and udon that restore to something genuinely close to freshly made in under a minute, without refrigeration, without preservatives, and without any cooking equipment beyond a kettle. It's a technology that makes a real meal available anywhere at any time in any situation without sacrificing the quality that makes the meal worth eating. Number 3. Autofill bath system. Running a bath involves a sequence of small frustrations that most people have repeated so many times they've stopped noticing them. You start the tap, test the temperature repeatedly, adjust hot and cold until it's right, wait for it to fill, come back to check the level, and inevitably find it either too full or gone cold while you were doing something else. Japan automated every part of that process decades ago. Autofill bath systems by manufacturers including Noritz and Rinnai connect to a wall panel in any room of the home. You set the exact temperature and depth you want, press a button, and go about your evening. The system fills the tub to the precise settings, holds the temperature if you're delayed, and sends an alert when it's ready. If the water cools between family members using it, a single button reheats it to the original temperature without adding or draining any water. It's a bath that's always perfect, always ready, and never requires standing over a tap making adjustments that shouldn't be necessary in the first place. If you're enjoying this so far, go ahead and tap like. It tells YouTube you want more of Japan's clever, everyday innovations. And if you love discovering things you didn't even know existed, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this list. Trust me, the next ones are even smarter. Number 4. Smart trash bins. A kitchen bin is one of the most touched surfaces in any home. Every time something is thrown away, the lid is lifted, pressed, or stepped on, transferring whatever was on the hand to the bin and whatever was on the bin back to the hand. Japan's sensor-activated trash bins eliminate that contact entirely. A motion sensor above the lid detects a hand or waste item approaching and opens automatically. The lid closes on its own after a set delay. Nothing is touched at any point during the disposal process. Japanese smart bins also address the problem of knowing when the bin needs emptying. Built-in fill sensors in higher-end models detect when the bag is reaching capacity and display an indicator rather than requiring someone to look inside or discover the problem when it's already overflowing. The bin that most people touch dozens of times a day without thinking about it becomes a surface that requires no contact at all. In a kitchen where cross-contamination between food preparation and waste disposal is an ongoing hygiene concern, the difference is immediate and permanent. Number 5. Yakult ladies. Access to fresh food and health products is straightforward for most people until it isn't. Elderly residents with limited mobility, people recovering from illness, and anyone without reliable access to transport face the same problem. The products that support daily health are available in shops that are difficult or impossible to reach independently. Japan solved this in 1963 with a delivery system that has never stopped running. Yakult ladies are trained representatives who visit residential areas daily on bicycles or small electric vehicles, delivering fresh Yakult probiotic drinks directly to homes on a regular scheduled basis. The service prioritizes elderly residents and people with limited mobility, ensuring that daily probiotic intake, which supports gut health and immune function, remains accessible regardless of a person's physical ability to leave the home. The Yakult Lady system now operates across Japan and in over 40 countries globally. It's a distribution model built not around efficiency for the company, but around genuine access for the customer, which is why it has continued without interruption for over 60 years. Number 6. Combo washer-dryer. Most homes allocate a significant portion of their utility space to two separate appliances that do one job between them. A washing machine washes, a dryer dries. You load one, wait, transfer the load, and wait again. If you forget the transfer, the clothes sit damp long enough to develop a smell that requires rewashing. Japan's combo washer-dryer eliminates every part of that sequence beyond the initial loading. A single unit handles both cycles in the same drum without any intervention between them. Washing finishes and drying begins automatically. The clothes come out clean and dry from the same machine they were loaded into. The unit fits into the footprint of a single appliance, which in Japanese apartments where laundry space is minimal, was the original practical driver behind the design. But the logic applies regardless of available space. One machine instead of two means one less appliance to install, one less appliance to maintain, one less appliance to eventually replace, and a laundry routine that's finished when you get home rather than halfway through when you remember to switch things over. Number 7. Outdoor misting stations. Summer heat in Japan reaches a specific combination of temperature and humidity that makes outdoor space genuinely uncomfortable rather than just warm. The air doesn't move. The humidity prevents sweat from evaporating. Standing in the shade provides limited relief because the air itself is the problem, rather than direct sunlight. Japan installed the solution in the streets. Outdoor misting stations are fixed installations found across Japanese cities, shopping streets, theme parks, and train station entrances that release an ultrafine water mist into the surrounding air continuously during summer months. The mist evaporates almost immediately on contact with the warm air, and the evaporation process absorbs heat from the environment, reducing the ambient temperature in the immediate area by several degrees. The mist itself isn't felt as wetness. The particles are fine enough to evaporate before reaching skin or clothing in most conditions. Walking through a misting station on a humid summer day produces a cooling effect that's immediate and genuinely significant. Japan identified that summer heat was a public infrastructure problem rather than a personal one, and responded by cooling the streets themselves. Number 8. Mosquito patch. Mosquito repellent in most forms requires either covering exposed skin with a spray, or lotion that needs reapplying every few hours, or burning a coil that produces smoke and requires an outdoor setting to be practical. Japan produced a solution that requires neither. A Japanese mosquito repellent patch is a small adhesive square infused with natural citronella or metafluorin compounds that sticks directly to clothing rather than skin. It creates a repellent zone around the wearer for up to 12 hours without any spray, any smell on the skin, any reapplication, or any open flame. The patch works during outdoor dining, garden use, camping, and any situation where mosquitoes are present without requiring any change to routine beyond sticking a patch to a sleeve or collar before going outside. It's hypoallergenic, skin-safe because it never contacts skin directly, and available at every Japanese convenience store and pharmacy as a standard summer purchase. The problem of being bitten despite having repellent is almost entirely a problem of application and reapplication. The patch removes both variables permanently. Number 9. Japanese non-slip tray. Carrying drinks, plates, and food between rooms involves a consistent low-level risk that most people manage through careful movement and slow walking, rather than any actual solution to the underlying problem. The items slide, the tray tips slightly, and everything shifts. A glass reaches the edge before anything spills, and the whole trip becomes more stressful than it needs to be. Japan's Notori non-slip tray has a micro-textured surface that creates enough friction between the tray and any item placed on it to prevent movement regardless of the angle or speed of transport. Glasses stay where they're placed. Plates don't drift. The tray can be carried at a natural walking pace without the cautious shuffle that a standard smooth tray requires. The texture is subtle enough that the tray looks identical to a standard serving tray. It cleans identically. It stacks identically. The only difference is that nothing placed on it moves until you deliberately pick it up. It's a solution to a problem so small that most people have never considered it solvable, which is exactly why Japan solved it. Number 10. Magnetic phone mount. A phone without somewhere to put it becomes a problem the moment both hands are needed for something else. Cooking from a recipe, following a video tutorial, video calling from a desk. watching something while eating. Every one of these situations requires the phone to be positioned and stable at a specific angle without being held. The solutions most people use, leaning it against something, propping it with another object, buying a stand that doesn't fit every phone, all involve compromise. Japan's magnetic phone mount uses a powerful magnet housed in a slim base that attaches to any surface through a strong adhesive backing. A thin metal plate placed inside the phone case or behind the phone allows it to attach to the magnet and be repositioned in one motion to any angle. The mount holds firmly enough to stay in position during use, but releases instantly when you pick the phone up. It works on any surface at any angle with any phone case and requires no adjustment once installed. Number 11. Noise-canceling curtains. Standard curtains block light. That's the primary function they were designed for, and most do it adequately. The two things that most affect sleep quality and home comfort beyond light: noise coming through windows and temperature escaping through them. Standard curtains address barely at all. Japan developed noise-canceling curtains as a mainstream home product available at standard home retailers, rather than as a specialist item requiring a dedicated supplier. These are thick, multi-layer curtains engineered specifically to absorb sound transmission from outside and reduce heat transfer through the glass simultaneously. The difference in a room fitted with them is noticeable immediately. Street noise drops significantly. The room holds its temperature better in both summer and winter. Sleeping in a room facing a busy road becomes a completely different experience. Working from a home office on a noisy street becomes sustainable rather than something to manage through headphones. They replace 3 separate products: standard curtains, blackout liners, and draft excluders, with one that does all 3 better than any of them did individually. Number 12. Collapsible stool. Every home has situations where there aren't enough seats. A guest arrives and there's nowhere comfortable to put them. A task requires sitting somewhere there's no chair. A child needs to reach a surface that's too high. The solution in most homes is either buying more furniture that takes up permanent space or making do with something uncomfortable. Japan makes a stool that takes up no space when it isn't needed. A Japanese collapsible stool is engineered to support full adult body weight when open and fold to a flat profile of a few centimeters when not in use. It slides behind a door, under a bed, or into a bag. It sets up in seconds and folds in seconds. The structural design distributes weight across the folded joints in a way that makes the stool stable and level on any surface, despite having no rigid frame in the traditional sense. It's not a compromised version of a stool. It's a stool that happens to disappear when it's not in use, which is the only thing a standard stool has ever failed to do. Number 13. Umbrella wrappers. A wet umbrella brought inside a building immediately becomes a problem. It drips on floors, soaks whatever bag it's placed in, and has no appropriate place to go between the entrance and wherever the owner is heading. Japan addressed this at the entrance before the umbrella gets any further. Umbrella wrapper dispensers are mounted at the entrance of virtually every Japanese shop, office, bank, and public building. You insert the wet umbrella tip first, pull it through a slot, and a thin plastic sleeve wraps around the entire length in one motion. The umbrella is now fully contained. No dripping on the floor, no soaking the bag, no puddle forming beside every seat in every restaurant. The sleeves are collected at the exit on the way out, deposited in a designated bin, and the umbrella is unwrapped and taken outside dry. It takes about 3 seconds. It costs nothing for the user, and it permanently solves the problem of wet umbrellas in shared spaces without requiring any behavior change beyond the 3-second action at the door. Number 14. Japanese Genkan entryway system. In most homes, the front door opens directly onto the living space, and whatever is on the bottom of outdoor shoes comes straight in. Every bacterial strain picked up from pavements, public toilets, and street surfaces gets tracked through every room that anyone walks into. Japan solved this architecturally over 1,000 years ago and has never stopped using the solution. The Genkan is a dedicated entry zone built into every Japanese home, sunken slightly below the level of the main floor, where shoes are removed before stepping inside. The physical difference in floor height creates a clear automatic boundary between outdoor and indoor space that a doormat alone never replicates. Slippers are kept at the step for putting on immediately. The transition is automatic because the space itself directs it, rather than relying on a household rule that anyone can forget. Outdoor contamination stays at the threshold. Floors stay genuinely clean rather than just visibly clean. And a habit that in other countries requires conscious effort becomes completely automatic because the architecture of the home makes anything else feel wrong. Number 15. Japanese smart rice cooker. Rice cooked on a stovetop is subject to every variable that makes cooking inconsistent. Water ratio, heat level, pan thickness, altitude, and the age and variety of the rice all affect the outcome, which is why the same method produces different results on different days, and why most people either accept inconsistency or avoid cooking rice at home entirely. Japan solved this with a microchip, A Japanese smart rice cooker contains sensors that monitor temperature, pressure, and moisture throughout the entire cooking process and adjust the heat in real time based on what they detect. Different rice varieties have dedicated settings. The cooker reads the characteristics of each batch and compensates for variables automatically. High-end models from Zojirushi and Tiger use pressure cooking to drive water deeper into each grain, producing a texture that atmospheric cooking cannot replicate. The rice comes out with each grain distinct, properly hydrated, and consistent every single time, regardless of the variety being cooked. Over 90% of Japanese households own one. The stovetop method is something most Japanese people have genuinely never needed to rely on because the cooker has been getting it right every time since the day it was plugged in. If you want to see more amazing things Japan is doing better than the rest of the world, then like and subscribe. And make sure to watch the video on your end screen, it's packed with even more problem-fixing things.